A recognizable mug at ConCom last night and a new way for hunters to access areas in Barnstable. On this episode of Barnstable Today, it's Wednesday, October 24th, 2012. I'm Sarah Colvin. A famous face was before the Conservation Commission Tuesday night. You may recognize Elliot Tatelman from his famous Jordan's Furniture commercials. He's recently become a Barnstable resident. He and his lawyers were before the Conservation Commission with a notice of intent for pool construction and patio expansion at his Osterville home. Before the intent was discussed, though, an issue regarding unauthorized plant removal by one of Tatelman's neighbors was discussed.
I'm Elliot Tatelman, the owner of the property. We have a home in the Berkshires that we've had for many years, and we've decided to move to the Cape so I can commute to work. And we have a pool that we built very similar to what I wanted to do in this property, which is right behind the house, directly with a view and so forth, and it was beautiful. And that was my main goal, was to do it. And then Bruce came to me and said, we're going to disrupt, and it really isn't the right place, and could we think of something else? So we went over to the side, and that's where we changed our mind quickly after going through many different plans. And I just want you to know that I bought the property in May. Until 4 o'clock this afternoon, I did not know anything about what this problem was with trees being cut and cut down. I still haven't seen it. I don't even know what the problem is exactly, except that Bruce told me that what happened, and that I was totally unaware of it. And obviously, I hope it doesn't affect what we're trying to do.
You shouldn't feel that it's going to burden this application. It's an enforcement matter. It's pretty apparent where the cutting began, and so I expect that at the next morning meeting there may be enforcement action against the abutter. It is obvious that cutting has been done very recently. There's fresh cutting there, and from where your property line staking is, it's apparent that the cutting has gone over the property line onto your parcel. Now, I think you're probably going to be involved in some way because some remediation is going to have to happen here, and you need to be involved in that, since it's going to be, they can't go on to your property to fix what was done without your permission. So I think it may be in your best interest to contact the commission office and know when this enforcement action is being brought in front of the commission, and to be represented at that so that you are fully informed of the issues. But you should not feel that this burdens this particular application.
So even though there was things happened on my property, doesn't mean I'm necessarily responsible. Is that
it may not necessarily be that you're responsible for having caused the damage,
right, but
you may in fact be involved in the process of repairing the damage. Okay. Whether you authorize your neighbor to come onto your property and fix it, or you fix it and the neighbor has to reimburse you somehow, these are issues that would have to play out.
Okay, all right. As long as I can get my pool going, that's the main thing for me.
You don't have to, this is not an enforcement hearing,
okay,
and it's not going, enforcement is a separate track. It's not going to affect what we're going to be doing.
The commission then moved on to the plans, which were approved. At the end of Tuesday's meeting, the commission discussed a request to open the West Barnstable Conservation Area to vehicles during primitive firearm hunting season. This sparked an interesting discussion about hunting in our conservation areas.
It's from Doug Callwaite, Tuesday, October 23rd, to Rob. Subject: West Barnstable Gates primitive season. Rob, I've been asked, as you have, about opening the West Barnstable Conservation to vehicles during deer hunting season for primitive firearms. I would support allowing vehicles in the conservation area during primitive firearm deer season for a length of time as determined by the commission. This year, the deer season runs from December 10th through December 31st, 2012. We are patrolling the area daily anyway. I do not think this would be a problem. So in your description here, you said proposed open gate access for 1 week, December 10th through 16th. Is that the time that they wanted to have access?
Yeah. The good part about that is it follows right on the heels of the 2-week open gate period for shotgun deer season. So it provides that that privilege to to the primitive firearms for 1 week. And we had some gentlemen request that last year in a really statesman-like way, and I think it sets up good for your consideration and approval. Doug's for it, and we would note in our kiosks, those nice kiosks that we have, we'll note in there that there'll be vehicles accessing the land. They just come through 2 gates, Crocker Road up near the range, and then Crooked Cartway down the other side. It isn't like the place fills up with cars or anything like that.
Any questions? Louise?
What happens with the dog walkers and the mountain bikers and all those folks who use those? They use those areas also, right?
Yeah. Well, they know that hunting is going on, so they're in there exercising caution, hopefully wearing their orange, and they'll know from reading the kiosk that they shouldn't be startled by a vehicle passing, that there'll be vehicles in there as well. So long as everyone's operating intelligently at low speed, whatever their activity, then we think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the vehicles themselves. I just was thinking about the safety of other people and other users of the area.
Yeah, well, we call it a shared use, and so we'll notify them to be heads up for vehicles. My own feeling is it's not the hunting vehicles that are going to surprise anybody with their speed. It's the illegal motorbikes, which you're going to hear anyway. But those things move at a clip.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking of the bullets, not the vehicles.
Oh, well, we've long allowed hunting in our conservation land, so
there's no bullets.
No bullets?
No.
That's a good point. There's shotgun.
That's right, because you're in the state of Massachusetts, you're not allowed to hunt deer, with a rifle.
And then what do you call the primitive projectile? Is that a plug?
Yeah, a deer plug or shot. Yeah, the range is dramatically less than a rifled cartridge would ever do. So I think I've hunted myself in areas like in Crane, which are solely managed for hunting, and people utilize them for walking and other passive recreation. I think kind of a risky thing, but I think it is important maybe to educate people that for bow season, for primitive firearm season, that that some of these areas are actively hunted, and that they need to wear conspicuous orange, and if they're going to be out there.
And maybe give them advance notice so that they don't show up and say, "Oh, I'm all set to go, and I didn't wear my orange vest."
Well,
put signage up on the kiosks that say, beginning such and such a day.
Certainly.
Yeah,
it's a good point.
All right, could I have a motion to approve the proposed access for December 10th to 16th for primitive firearm hunting season at West Barnstable Conservation Area?
So moved.
All those in favor? It's approved unanimously.
That change was unanimously approved. You can watch the entire Conservation Commission hearing online at town.barnstable.ma.us. The Barnstable Police Department has some items up for sale. An auction is scheduled this Saturday. Up for grabs an Acura sedan, a Chevy Suburban, and a yellow scooter. Bidders must register to participate. Registration and viewing begins at BPD headquarters on Finney's Lane at 9 a.m. Saturday, with the auction taking place at 10. For more details, visit barnstablepolice.com. And of course, make sure to tune in to Barnstable This Morning. That's our hour-long live morning news show here on Channel 18, each and every weekday morning starting at 7 a.m. With Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Colvin.